Let's bring on our next guest. He's getting BYU basketball ready for its first season in the Big 12. He knows all about winning at Liberty High School in Missouri. His teams went 54-3 over his junior and senior seasons. 54-3. As a two-year starter at Stanford, he was a captain on the number 1 ranked Cardinal basketball squad, now getting ready for his 5th season at BYU. Our pleasure to welcome assistant coach Nick Robinson to the Wise Guys. Good to have you here.
Gentlemen, it's great to be here.
How about that Jamal Willis?
Wow. I mean, incredible.
How would you like to tackle that? He's 6'2", 230.
I would have no chance tackling him.
I was telling him that, and I never told him this before, but we were at a spring practice, and he went out and caught a ball, and then he was returning kicks, and Bill Walsh from the Niners was there with Lavelle, and I was done playing. I was broadcasting, and Bill said to Lavelle Edwards, "It's one of the best athletes I've ever seen, and Lavelle goes, "Oh, that he is." It's just an incredible athlete. And what a great representative of BYU.
Yeah, I would have gone for the shoestring tackle.
Now, you played football in high school. What position did you play?
So I finished playing football in 8th grade.
Oh, 8th grade.
And I played wide receiver and a little bit of defensive end.
Defensive end. So you were an undersized defensive end?
I was, yeah. Very skinny.
You'd have to
scrawny.
Tackle Jamal. Kid come right at you?
Yeah, and generally it was a shoestring tackle.
That's awesome. Let's talk about 2 big shots right out of the gate. 1988, you hit the game winner to beat Rockwood-Lafayette 42-41 to complete a 31-0 season at Liberty High School in Missouri. What happened on that play?
It was fantastic. Now, it was 1998. You're
dating 98. That's right.
1990?
It's 98.
My bad.
No problem at all.
Now, 88, that would have been me. That would have been me.
Yeah, that would have been you.
No, so we're at the old Mizzou Arena, and the semifinals were there, and we had a pretty close victory in that game as well. And we get to the championship game, and there's an Illinois commit, and they had a great team. Their guards were really, really exceptional. In fact, Ryan Howard was on that Lafayette team, the great baseball player, home run king at one point in time. Yeah. But we get towards the end of the game, and it's really, coach calls timeout. We got to stay super calm. I did my best to do that. In our team, we came down and we were able to get, a couple good passes. And essentially, I just took 1 or 2 dribbles to the right and shot a pull-up jumper, and it went in, which was great. Right?
Did you know it was going in?
Yeah, at the time I did.
When it left your hand, it felt like that's in.
Yeah, no, I mean, at that point in time, in life, we had a great basketball team, right? We were undefeated to that point. Yeah. We'd been in, other situations where, we needed a game tying or a game winning, experience, and we had those through the years. So we had a lot of confidence in this moment, and letting that thing go, I had just enough space, went in, no questions about it going in. But the issue was they had a lot of time left. So we left a little too much time on the table. But come down, get a defensive stop, it goes out of bounds, and they get an end line out of bounds play. And we get another defensive stop, and then it's pandemonium. So it was fantastic.
Isn't it amazing how we don't forget a single detail about things like that?
I can tell you where pretty much everybody on the court was, what we did afterwards.
But 31-0 at any level is a very, very special experience to go through a season in anything and never suffer a defeat. That has to be. You probably remember every game that year.
Yeah, and for us, it really started in 8th and 9th grade, right? It was junior high, right? And our group of basketball players essentially had stayed together through that time. And so sophomore year was a little rocky because a few of us moved up to varsity. Others had to play JV. Then we were all back together with somebody that transferred in as juniors. And so, we went through that season and felt like, by the time we got to February that we were going, to the state title. It hadn't been done since 1979. The picture of that team was up on the wall. And so we had to look at that every single day and we're like, we are going. And so we were really, really driven our senior year. And there was luck involved. I mean, again, we had a last second victory on the road, and during the playoffs to be able to get us to that, that next stage. And then, we had a pretty, kind of a comeback, slash big time moments. We had an overtime game where our shooting guard Ryan Stiegel ended up going on to be a Big 12 baseball player of the year, made 9 free throws in a row in overtime, right? So yeah, everything
That's
about
awesome.
the experience was fantastic.
That's so cool. Well, let's fast forward to your junior year at Stanford. So now we're in February of 2004. Had some great experience there with the Cardinal as well. On February 7th, you get a steal. One of your 107, by the way, at Stanford. You cross half court and you sink a 35-foot shot to beat Arizona.
That's on YouTube if you want to look at it.
77, and the fans storm the floor. Tell us about that moment.
Yeah, well, first of all, if we back up just a little bit, we were down most of the game, right? Both teams are ranked. Essentially, the Pac-12 or Pac-10 tournament at the time goes through Stanford, Arizona. It had been like that year after year. And, we had to get a steal because we were behind quite a bit. But we're down 3. We get a steal, and we come down and we make 4 left-handed passes to Josh Childress in the corner, right? First round, number 6 pick in the draft that same year. And he hits a 3, right? Coach calls a timeout. We get in there. Hey, we got to get a stop. Don't foul, right? We got this. So we come out, and essentially, right, you kind of see it in the clip, but we almost foul, right? Slim Stoudemire. And they managed to come up with the ball. But I was guarding Andre Iguodala at the time in the corner, and he lifts up as they go for a high ball screen. And Channing Frye, our big, presents himself. And then all of a sudden now I'm in the play, right? So we get a deflection, the ball comes loose. I grab that thing, and Chris Hernandez, our point guard, he's calling for a timeout.
No,
right?
thank goodness he didn't get it.
Yeah, nobody kind of sees that. He's calling for a timeout. Wait a second, Nick's got the ball. Hold on, let's chill out here. But no, I looked at the clock, saw 2 seconds, took 2 dribbles, let it go.
2 dribbles, so 2 steps past half court. This you shot from where we call Jimmer
time,
range.
right?
Yeah,
Jimmer range.
And then you watch that one go in and.
Yeah, but Jimmer range, he did it all the time, right? This was my first experience.
But this one was one of the. I read about this, one of the biggest shots in Pac-12 history. This was momentous, and you buried it.
Yeah, and it felt good. I knew it had a chance. Yeah. It wasn't until I hit the ground, right, that I actually felt it and saw it go in. And my teammate Matt Loddick, first one to dive on the floor on top of me, which actually protected me.
Yeah.
Because we got, Tiger Woods on the sideline, the entire, right, student fan section. They all just pile on, right? And so it got a little scary because it got really heavy.
Yeah.
And there was, excited, fans that were in awkward positions, but we all got up and out of there, and it was a great step in the process of the season that we had that year.
Yeah, a very special season.
Max Hall tells a story after he threw the touchdown to beat Utah in overtime, and they're in the end zone. Everyone comes and piles on him, and he's at the bottom of the pile. And he said, "This is it for me. I'm going to die right here.
I cannot breathe. This could be the end of my life." And that'll be bigger news than the fact that we just won.
It's an amazing experience, and to this day, anytime I see rushing the field, it brings goosebumps, but also that adrenaline rush of let's stay safe, right?
Maybe that's why the Big 12 says no field rushing.
Can we please stay safe? So it wasn't much later. You and Megan welcome your first child, Annie. And the team nicknames you Pops because I can't imagine there's a lot of even married players back in those days. There aren't very many there now. And you're living a BYU married student kind of a lifestyle over at Stanford. How does that experience help you relate to the married players you have and coached at BYU during these past 4 years?
Yeah, it's been fantastic to be able to understand what they're going through, right? As a married student athlete, yes, one of the few, our point guard Mike McDonald gave me that nickname Pops because I was older than he was, right, as a senior. Not quite, but close. But, for our guys that are married and, Traden Christensen starting a family, right, recently, it's a unique experience because, you have that additional responsibility being married, and so you feel like, hey, I've got a responsibility to my family, but also to my other family, and and so all of a sudden it becomes a combined family experience. And so some of our favorite memories was Megan and having Thanksgiving dinner at our tiny 1-bedroom.
And that's right, I said Megan, it's Megan.
Yeah, no, our tiny 1-bedroom, married student housing, with with all the guys over and, having a great experiences like that, and then coming to the game. And, Annie, she was born on a Sunday. She was induced and born on a Sunday, and we left on Wednesday for the Washington trip. And, to be able to, essentially present Annie to the entire team before we get on the bus is something that I'll never forget.
That's cool.
And to this day, those guys are like, oh, my goodness, right? Annie is, what age, and she's doing what? And, they're just as proud of her as I am. And so, it's a really neat experience for our family at that particular time, but it's also great for our guys here at BYU to be able to go through some of those experiences as well. You're able to see, the guys that, are still finding, the partner relationship and figuring that, part of life out. And, because the time when it's right, it's right. And so, when that comes for whoever it might be, it can be a wonderful experience. But to be able to have multiple examples like Spencer and Trevin, of making the young married life experience happen while they're in school and competing at the highest level, it's fantastic.
That's great.
Do you? I love that. And did you feel back at your time that it's like, hey, I've got a wife and a child, like I have a little more to play for than anybody, because I'm playing, like you said, for my family, that's my team, but I got this other I'm playing for more people. And does it give you some stability in what you're doing and more drive? Can it have a positive impact on you? Because BYU's got a lot of those folks, right? Can it be a real positive thing for a player?
No, absolutely. I think for me personally, it just narrowed my focus a little bit more. Was I playing essentially for Megan? I wouldn't say that all the time. I was really playing for my brothers in between the lines, right? I was, semi-crazy when I stepped in between the lines, which was a very good thing, right?
Yes.
Willing to do a lot of, interesting things in order for us to be able to win basketball games, because when you step in between the lines, that's what matters most. And so, but yes, clearly a little bit more motivation, because you want, your spouse and you want your family and whoever that family might be, to see you do well and to, have a great experience while you're having a great experience.
Amber in New York watching tonight just watched your shot. Nice shot. She said that was a lot of fun.
Amber, way to go.
BYU assistant basketball coach Nick Robinson's on the Wise Guys.
So.
We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. So you're born in Salt Lake.
Yep.
Moved a number of years in Europe.
That's right.
And as I understand it, you meet your future wife, Megan, when you're 7 or 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what happened? How did that start?
Yeah, so our families got to know each other. We lived relatively close. And my dad played professional basketball in England. So by the time I was, 2.5 or 3, we'd been through 2 seasons in Belgium and France. We get to England, and he ends up having a 5-season career there. But in the summertime, he enjoyed working construction, and so our families got to know each other. And she had older brothers, soccer players, et cetera, et cetera. And so we got to know each other, and our dads became really good friends.
Yeah.
And we moved back to the United States. We moved to Texas. And then my senior year in high school, I went back with my mom just to go visit where I grew up.
Right.
And, had a great experience, and Megan was all grown up. And so
now we have 2 grown. Now we have a problem. We have 2 grown-ups.
You didn't say, wow, you've grown up, did you?
Pretty close.
Yeah, there you go.
And so then we did the long distance thing for a while, and got to know each other a little bit better, and then she ended up in the United States going to school, and we reconnected, post mission, and we're what are we on 20? Almost 23 years now. So
that's an awesome story.
Great.
Yeah.
Not childhood sweethearts, but childhood friends.
No, not many people just go to England as a young boy and meet their wife.
Yeah, no. Our parents seem to think that they set us up, but that's clearly not the case.
So I want to take you back to high school. You're a star player in Missouri. You're playing on a phenomenal basketball team that's going 31-0. It came time to pick a school. My understanding is you woke your parents up at 2:30 in the morning to tell them that it had come to you that Stanford was the place for you. So why Stanford? Well, why 2:30 in the morning? But why Stanford?
Yeah, so I mean, at that point in time, I'd gotten recruited, at the end of the summer of my junior year, right? It was a little bit different than nowadays, right? And so we actually had kind of an open gym at William Jewell College. Larry Holly, may rest in peace, gathered, local college players and some high school guys, and Steve Cleveland, Dave Rose, they came out to watch. Stanford, watched me. Rice recruited me a little bit in the University of Utah. Judkins, recruited me during that time. So I went on visits to Stanford and Utah and had great experiences in both situations. And, in terms of going through the analytical process that my mind takes me through, I wanted to evaluate, the academics, what's the teammates going to be like? What's the coaching? What's the philosophy? What's campus like? And, once I'd gotten through that entire process, I began my, process of understanding, what's going to be best for me from my Father in Heaven's perspective. And so once I began asking that question, you never know when the answer is going to come.
Right.
And
sometimes it's 2:30.
Yeah, and when it came, it was pretty much time to move forward. So, woke my parents up, called coach next day, and off we went.
So now you're in the business of getting kids to choose BYU over Stanford and every other school. What are your selling points as you sit down with a kid trying to get them to Provo?
Yeah, so, I mean, number one, right, Coach Pope does an amazing job, right, in player development. And, him being a former NBA player,
right.
The success that he's had in building teams year in and year out, to me, that's the number one selling point. And so, for us to be able to, have young men that want to come in and work at the level that Coach wants us all to work at is really, really important. Number two, right, BYU is amazing, right? I mean, there's 33,000 students. Yeah. There's a 19,000 seats, arena that's going to be sold out. We're top 15, currently, and it's going to rise to top 10 in terms of attendance. We've got amazing facilities. We've got fantastic support from both athletic administration as well as university administration. And so, people don't realize until they actually get here that BYU's been operating like a Power 5, like a Big 12 team, in the number one basketball conference for a long time. We've got great history, right? From Krasmir Chosiks, right? We're going to go to Croatia on our foreign tour, right? To Danny Ainge, to Jimmer, to everybody in between that has essentially built, right, the winning tradition, right, that BYU's had. All the great coaches, that have come through here. So it's an amazing place to be, and very, very, in my opinion, easy to sell.
Your Stanford career followed a 2-year church mission to Brazil, and then coaching followed your playing days. You're head coach at Southern Utah between 2012 and 2016. And during that time, some issues come up with your vocal cords. What challenge surfaced, and what was that like?
Yeah, so that was really interesting, to be a vocal leader on the court, right, through high school and through college, and then, to get into the coaching profession and to find your voice. And I think I was 2.5 years in, and unfortunately, and probably wrongfully, I was yelling a little bit too loud in an empty gym, right, across the court, and, got a strain and didn't get it seen to initially. And so, then, there was really just an imbalance in my vocal cords. Yeah. So they're supposed to connect, right, simultaneously, to produce the sound that we need at a wonderful level. And there was an imbalance in the muscle as well as in one of the vocal cords. So, essentially there were certain, like the H, right? I was able to say it right now pretty clearly. Yeah. And then a couple other letters as I was, trying to speak that just wouldn't come out. But then I also wasn't able to get the air that I needed because of the muscle that was having an issue. And so, anyway, it was all not good.
Did it freak you out?
It was very concerning at the time. And so, I learned to kind of monitor it the best that I could, then, found the best help that I could here in the state of Utah while I was here. Had a couple procedures done, but it was really temporary fixes, right? They would increase the the muscle strength, right, or increase the size of the vocal cord. Anyway, Jim Hayford gave me a chance at Seattle U, knowing the condition I was in, and we managed to find a great doctor who actually had dealt with it himself, and was able to get 2 procedures with him, and essentially have been on the road to recovery since. Haven't had to deal with it. Still have a little bit of uniqueness in my voice at this stage, but not nearly the issues that I had. So yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking and scary given the profession that I'm in.
Yeah,
but really
because you got to be able to yell at kids.
Well,
Nick can just look at him sternly, and they know he means business, right?
But how random is, and maybe random's not the right word, but you're just doing your job and you're shouting like we all shout, and then all of a sudden a little switch flips and change forever.
Yeah, and so like it's been described to me, singers actually go through the same issue that I've had, right? And so every now and again you'll hear singers, hey, we've got to postpone the tour. Or
Adele had to take a whole year off, right?
And again, my voice has nothing to do with Adele. It's not even close, right?
We want you to sing for us in a little bit.
But the nature of the vocal cords, right, in the process that they need to go through in order to be able to function properly, it can be concerning.
This is fascinating because we've watched you in practice, and especially during shoot-arounds when you're going over the assignments for everybody, and it's clear and concise, but we can tell that you're making sure it's clear and concise. Has that been kind of how you focus to overcome it?
Yeah, so one of the things, that I've been asked by the doctors to do is to prevent high volume, right, for extended periods of time. Yeah. And so, I can do it in short, intermittent spots, and I've become, pretty accustomed to doing that. But it's kind of the overusage at the high levels that cause, the problems. And so, so, you're absolutely right. I've learned to be a little bit more concise, a little bit clearer. Even if the volume raises, I kind of know exactly what volume I can get to without straining, my vocal cords at this stage.
He needs to go to the Steve Fisher, Coach Fish. I used to say to the guys, to the assistants, to Dutch and those guys, hey, what's Coach Fisher doing? Like when he comes over to teach something, like he almost whispers, and like everybody in the whole gym just immediately stops talking and they're deadly silent. And I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, oh yeah, a couple of years ago he decided he's not yelling anymore. I go, he just decided that. And he goes, yeah, and everybody knows that he's just not going to yell. So as soon as he starts to teach, he just talks in a normal voice, and everybody just comes over and they all listen. That's what they have to do for Nick, right? And they can just come listen. And we notice that when we're at practice. I'm like, look, Nick's teaching, and everybody's in. Like they're all in. They're paying attention, and you're enunciating, and you're doing all that. And everybody's right in, and they're all right there. I think it's. I felt like when we were watching, I'm like, hey, these guys have a lot of respect for Nick. That's cool that they're doing that. So it's fun. It's fun to have you. Everybody has challenges, and nobody's immune to them, right? And so, and you're kind of through this, but still working on it. Sounds like. We're glad to have Nick Robinson and Wise Guys with us tonight. Former high school valedictorian. So not only did he make game-winning shots, he also graduated #1 in his class.
We got your FBI file.
Yeah, he's got a bachelor's degree in political science and a master's degree in sociology, both of those from Stanford University. That's amazing and impressive.
Hey, where was Condoleezza Rice when they recruited you? Was she there? Did she help seal the deal, or was she not too far removed from the White House? I don't think.
Yeah, she wasn't there at the time when I was being recruited, but
I think she's my son-in-law.
She's
Dallas
like the closer.
Yeah. My son-in-law is Dallas Lloyd, who played football over there. Yeah. Oh, she closed him.
Yeah,
Condi got him to be there. So
a lot of expansion news this week. How do you feel about Utah coming into the Big 12?
For me, the Big 12, right, has just grown, right, and so. To be able to have a few more, I guess, West Coast schools in the mix, feels like it just strengthens the basketball components. And I can only speak to basketball. I don't know much about football, but to be able to have the Arizonas, the two top schools in the state of Utah,
Colorado.
to have Colorado, in my mind, it's somewhat a natural progression that the Big 12 is looking for to be able to strengthen the league. And so, I'm just really excited for the opportunity that our guys are going to have, right, and us as a staff and Coach Pope to lead us into the Big 12, right? It's not very often that you get to be in the same place and all of a sudden, right, level up conferences in an amazing way, right? And so, it's going to be super interesting, and Coach Pope says all the time, it's going to be super exciting and super scary, right?
Yeah.
All of the above. But I think that, the commissioner's doing a great job of strengthening this league and, putting us in position to be here for the long haul.
I thought of shorter road trips when I saw it.
Yeah.
There's the rivalry stuff, but I'm like, hey, that's not West Virginia.
We've been talking, we haven't seen, we don't know what it's going to look like with these new additions, but it would just make sense that in football, Utah and BYU would play every year, even if there's two divisions, that would be a natural rivalry game. It also would make sense because there's going to be home and homes with some teams, and then you just play one game with others, that Utah and BYU likely play a home and home. So you're going to get two games in the state of Utah with one of the great rivals. That seems to be a positive for everyone.
Yeah, and my first thought, because I helped deal with game scheduling, was okay. The series is ending this year with Utah, and I don't have to worry about scheduling a day next year.
Right. No more politics, no more nothing.
The Big 12 will take care of that for me.
It's been a crazy week. We go from Thursday night. They were telling us, hey, Pac-12's meeting tomorrow morning, Friday morning. This is last Friday, to vote on this grant of rights deal. And so if they get this thing done, Pac-12's good. And then by 11 a.m. that day, it's like, hey, only two signed it. They're out.
Run for your
lives. The Four Corners teams are probably coming to the Big 12. I mean, it just all changed so quickly. And when the dust settled, there was Stanford and Cal, two phenomenal institutions, your alma mater, without a spot. I mean, do you have any sense of where they might end up in this thing, or do you have any hope for where they might end up?
Yeah, I have no idea, but I hope, right, that they're able to find themselves in a great position to be able to compete at the highest level. I mean, Stanford historically has had one of the great athletic departments in the country. Yeah. Now they do have a few more extra sports than everybody else, but also, as an alum, you feel for, the Cardinal, and you want them to be able to have, a place in this new landscape of college basketball. And so, BYU, they felt, the independence, right, struggle, and from a lot of different avenues and a lot of different, points. But, BYU, has been able to maximize that experience, and you just don't know, right, when you may have to go through that, but hopefully, right, they are able to find a league and, have a great experience and, moving forward, do the best they can. But that's the world that we live in right now. I mean, it's not just Stanford and Cal. There's a lot of teams that are constantly in limbo of where are we going to be.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego State coming off a national championship game, and then for a minute, it was rumored that you're going to be in the Big 12, and the Mountain West is like, yeah, well, you're going to pay your $17 million exit fee, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, and now they're kind of on the outside
just
right now.
Just think if they had left for the Pac-12, and then a couple days later there wasn't a Pac-12.
Wouldn't that have been?
Timing
amazing.
was so interesting.
We're hearing today that there have been conversations with Stanford and Cal and the ACC, which academically makes some sense, which from a basketball perspective makes some sense, even from a football perspective, but geographically, and I don't know that geographically even matters anymore, but perhaps that's a possibility, or independence for Stanford maybe. But would you be okay if they were in the ACC?
Oh, I mean, I like the Pac-10 from years and years ago, right?
This has got to be a shock for you to just see it gone.
Yeah, I mean, that was my experience at Stanford, right? The 2000 to 2005. And, clearly have a fondness in my heart for my alma mater.
Sure.
But, the leadership there has got to figure it out, just like the leadership here has had to figure it out.
Yes.
And so, we've been really fortunate with the timing and grateful to be here at BYU.
Earlier today, it was announced BYU and Arizona State going to play Thanksgiving night in Vegas at 10 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 for you folks in Southern Nevada in the Vegas Showdown. And we already know Arizona's joined the Big 12. And we were looking at each other going, isn't that just piling on? You got all the other schools, Kansas and everybody else. And then they go get Arizona. What did you think when they pulled the Wildcats in? You're just like, come on. Really?
Well, I mean, the first thing I thought was, all right, here we go. Again, Brett Yormark, is creating the best basketball conference, right?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And
so, it's super exciting to be a part of that. But again, Arizona has been historically an amazing basketball team and program. And so, it's another program that we get to deal with. And so, in the Big 12, there's no shortage of good programs with history, including us.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we're going to have to dive, all in and go for it.
One of the things you get to do is you're leaving for a trip to Italy and Croatia, August 18th through the 27th. Considering the new faces on the team, the new conference, seems like an important trip for this team. What do you guys want to get done?
Yeah, for us, I mean, every time I've been on a foreign tour, and I've been fortunate to go on a number of these, the 10 practices leading up are crucial, right, to the upcoming season. Both from the staff perspective, the player perspective, one, they're able to get to know each other a little bit better. Right, when we first got here, we took that first group on the foreign tour, and they were able to get to know each other, get to know the staff, figure out where their roles might be and how they can expand those roles, what they need to do to be successful, with their teammates and with the coaching staff. And so, these 10 practices, and right now we're what are we, 5? Anyway, I've lost track. But, we're getting to experience that. And then to be able to be together as a team and to bond together as a team, visiting some of the historical sites and going on some of the fun excursions and just getting to know each other, in addition to playing the games, really helps bond teams together. So that they can then make it through, right, the grind of the season and actually feel and understand, yes, we can do this. And so it's really exciting.
Feels like perfect timing.
It's great timing.
Perfect timing for this. BYU assistant basketball coach Nick Robinson's on the Wise Guys. Starting his 5th season at BYU. Through the previous 4, the Cougars are 68-26. You got a 6'11" newcomer, Ali Khalifa from Charlotte, and Dawson Baker coming over from UC Irvine. What do you like about those two?
Yeah, we're super excited about both of them. Both guys have been in great college basketball programs for 3 years. And so they bring a level of experience and toughness and understanding of the game.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of first and foremost. Dawson was able to, play at a very high level at UC Irvine and won at a high level. And so he brings that winning mentality, that competitive spirit. And so we're really excited about what he'll add to the team. And then Ali Khalifa, right, was at a program that really struggled, right, his redshirt year. Yeah. And they got a little bit better, and then they ended up winning, I think, the CBI championship this last year. And, he's been extremely well coached. He's an elite passer for the size that he brings. And, will add a new dynamic to our big core, this season. So,
and he can shoot the three.
Yeah, as a 6'11" guy, he can take bigs out to the perimeter and stretch defenses and do all of that, right?
Exactly.
And that's something the BYU's needed the last couple of years. What does Dawson bring in terms of a skill set? Because that people don't know who he is yet.
Yeah, so Dawson, in terms of his skills, right, he's capable of a little bit of everything. He can create his own shot. He shot the 3 pretty well. He's tough as nails, really competes. Defensively, he brings a certain edge, with him. And so, we're excited to kind of get the whole package and see how he fits within, the roster. But in terms of his skill set, I'm excited as well to kind of see, where his competitive spirit and toughness, comes on both ends of the floor.
Mike from Beaumont, Texas, chiming in, and Spencer with a comment. You're the best, Nick. We love you. Thank you for all you do. Sending prayers for this upcoming season. The fans know what you're up against. Can you feel that? I mean, there may be the anxiety, and they're going to sell the place out because they're all in. but everyone knows this is different from the WCC.
Absolutely, it is, right, and that's fantastic, and so it's really, really neat to be able to feel, right, both from the fans, right, from the players, from the staff, from all of Cougar Nation, both young and old, the excitement surrounding, the teams that will be coming to the Marriott Center, right, when we go on the road, as we have in the past, but to be able to see, kind of a different atmosphere is going to be super exciting. Yeah. But, all the luck, all the prayers, those are all needed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the world we live in, and so we'll take as much of that as we can.
I don't think anyone's ever turned down prayers.
Yeah, no, we'll take them, right? What's the biggest challenge you'll face as you're trying to put this roster together and go and compete in that league? Is there are a few things specifically that you look at and go, yeah, these are big challenges?
I think the biggest challenge right now is staying focused on the here and now, right? The league play doesn't start until January 6th, and so we've got a lot of improvement to make from now until then. And the guys have been really focused, in that regard, just taking advantage of each of these practices as we prepare for this trip. Our non-conference schedule is going to be a good quality schedule, right? We mentioned Arizona State, right? We've got the San Diego State and Utah games.
Fresno State, I think's in there.
Yep. Right. And so, all of those games are crucial to our growth and development to prepare us, right, for what we're hearing is, right, the most physical league, right, night in and night out. And so, to be able to prepare ourselves for that experience come January 6th, it's really all about what we're doing today.
Quez Glover was on the team. We hear that he's not. Came through the portal. Maybe he's back in the portal. If that's the case, you have 2 scholarship openings and kind of late in the year to fill them. So you just hang on to them and kind of just see what happens, or what's the strategy there?
Yeah, I think at this point, right, Coach Pope, wants to have a great fit, right? Yeah. Whoever that might be. Clearly we're still recruiting as much as we can, as fast as we can, given our foreign tour as well as, school starting September 5th. And so, if we were able to fill both those roster spots and they, the individuals were amazing fits, right, for BYU and for Coach Pope, then absolutely, we want them to be here. So, we'll see what happens, in that regard. But yeah, that's where we are right now.
The Big 12 matrix is out. We know BYU's going to Kansas, and we know Texas and Houston are coming to the Marriott Center, which is really exciting. Yeah. What were you thinking when you saw the schedule for the first time?
When I saw who we would be playing, both on the road and at home, and then also our, partner teams, I really just got excited. Because, our guys, have not had an opportunity to experience some of these venues. Right. And so, for all of us to be able to go in, for example, to a specific venue and, play our guts out and do everything we can and lay it all on the line and to, come away with a victory, will be an experience that they'll never forget. Right. To have, whichever team come into the Marriott Center and there's 19,000 fans and everybody's super excited. And again, we play our guts out, right, for 40 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it takes, and to be able to, hear and see the satisfaction on our guys' faces when that happens. I'm just super excited that they're going to be able to experience this night in and night out.
You played with the Pac-12 logo on the floor and the WCC logo on the floor, and you probably watched them paint the Big 12 logo on the floor in the practice facility and the Marriott Center. As you watch that transition of just the number on the floor, do you get a sense, and the players as well, that this is the big time. This is where this program's never been.
Yeah, I mean, for me, having experienced, the high level, in the Pac-10 many, many years ago, and it was really just last week, right? I walked in and saw the Big 12 logo. Yeah. It wasn't just, kind of a somber, experience or moment. It was, complete excitement and satisfaction for all the individuals, right, that have made this happen, right? Like, it really is the history of BYU that has gotten us to this point. And that's coaches, right, in all sports. That's the athletic administration. That's the university administration, right? It's everybody, that has supported BYU from a media standpoint. It's BYU broadcasting, right? It's everybody, right? Cougar Nation, that has been involved in making this happen, right? I'm just lucky in some ways, right, to be able to step on the floor and see the logo, right, to experience before everybody else does, right? But
on your shirt.
Yeah,
that's right. You guys are both sporting it.
These new shirts.
I didn't get the memo. All right, what about my Big 12 shirt?
So there's quite the responsibility to be able to go out and represent, right, both BYU and the Big 12, right? That combination is a unique combination that BYU's never experienced, but to be able to represent that, day in and day out, it definitely, is a fun and a cool and a unique experience.
The public doesn't get to see the guys much, except for maybe a couple of social media clips, because you're we're in the summer and you get these additional workouts, or you wouldn't even start, I believe, by now. But and we have a media availability coming up Friday, which will be cool to see. But what's the vibe? What's the vibe with your kids?
Yeah, so right now the guys have been working extremely hard. They're very excited about this foreign tour. Each practice, from a group perspective, we've gotten a little bit better. But one of the kind of vibes, I guess, is we're older than a year before.
Yeah.
And so, the guys that have, been able to, learn and grow, day by day, are now starting to kind of see and sense, man, this is kind of interesting. This is kind of exciting. And we've also been able to see, some of our guys, kind of grow into themselves just a little bit more.
Right.
And so for them to now have a year, right, with each other, there's a certain sense of, oh, this is, this is this, and this is this, and this is how this works, and this is how that goes. And so, that component, right, of team building and program building gets really, really exciting from a coaching perspective, because where we were a year ago is very different than where we are today.
Right. That's great.
Yeah, and that's great to hear.
Do you think he's ready?
First 5 questions.
Yeah. Do you think he's ready? This has just been like the warm-up band for this moment right here.
I was just going to say, I saw Sean Farnham on a program a couple weeks ago to talk about the Big 12, and he said some teams in the Big 12 are in for a surprise when they come to the Marriott Center. He says because there's great venues in the Big 12, but there's not a better venue than that Marriott Center when it's filled to the rafters and teams are playing at elevation. I think it's one of the great home courts in all college basketball. Ask the Zags if it's a good home court.
And St. Mary's. Ask everyone who's had a nightmare here.
Ask anybody. And so you guys have that in your holster, and I think that's going to be so fun when these big time programs come in and find out what the Marriott Center is all about.
I'm looking forward to Houston coming back. Remember they were here in that battle we had, and they had like 3 NBA guys on their roster.
We did a Houston game, we did Baylor game when Baylor was in here.
Wow,
those are fun games, and BYU always rises to the occasion. Get somebody like that in the Marriott Center, it'll be fun. So, all right, you ready for the Big 5?
Let's
go. 5 questions.
See what we got.
Yours are almost the same.
And you've had some time to put some thoughts there.
You're in the green room and you heard Jamal. So, your favorite sports movie?
Clearly, I didn't think about this.
Okay, take all that back.
Should we tell them who Marie Osmonds is? When Marie was on the show, she said Hoosiers.
Right? Yeah.
She's married to a basketball player, former BYU basketball player, Steve.
So I don't know if this counts, but I really like The Last Dance.
Last Dance.
So it's more the documentary series, right? Netflix,
which I love.
It's longer than a movie.
Yeah, it's like a series. No,
it's like a 5-part series.
We're gonna go with it.
It's like The Godfather. That's about as long as The Godfather.
My boys are always. Somebody just said the Johnny Manziel Netflix series is coming out today. Can't wait. So they watch all of those, my boys, and they get Brenda and I watching them.
We'll put that down. The Last Dance.
Awesome, by the way. So your favorite singer or band?
I would have to go with kind of a tie, Garth Brooks and Michael Jackson.
So 2 Michael Jacksons tonight, but I can go with Garth Brooks too.
That's kind of a Garth and Michael Jackson are kind of from. That's the two different spectrums.
There's 2 genres, which it's great.
Coming together as one.
This shows depth when you have a variety like this.
So they're so talented. I never saw Michael Jackson, but I have seen Garth, and it's like, oh my gosh.
I saw Janet Jackson, was not quite Michael, but wow. And Garth Brooks, I think my favorite song Garth Brooks is The one where he sings about, here's your mom, meet your mom.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great one for Mother's Day.
Brings a tear to my eye every
Yeah.
single time. Your favorite breakfast cereal?
So growing up, it was Frosted Flakes.
Yes.
Did you leave Frosted Flakes behind?
I've left Frosted Flakes
Why?
behind.
Why would you do that? I have a whole bin of it at my house.
What possibly could replace Frosted Flakes?
And so now it's Raisin Bran Crunch.
Raisin Bran Crunch.
But
All
does
right.
Raisin Bran Crunch have like some sugar on it already?
My
think
wife
so.
claims
Okay,
there's
yeah,
sugar
'cause
on the
we-
raisins, so that's why she doesn't
Yeah.
like it.
Okay.
But the sugar intake is a lot less than Frosted
Frosted
Flakes.
Flakes, okay. Because
That's true.
I mean, we really don't take a stand, but I think it's pretty clear we're against all cereals that are not sugar
I
cereals.
had Frosted Flakes this morning. Does that make me a bad
What did
person?
Danny tell us he liked?
not
What did
at all.
Danny Ainge?
Not at all.
What did Danny tell us he liked? Danny
Well,
Ainge.
he liked what his wife fed him was shredded wheat.
Shredded wheat.
What he
We're
liked was
please
something
tell us
different.
you're talking about the frosted shredded wheat. He's like, no, the regular shredded wheat. We're like, oh.
It's like eating
no.
a bale of hay.
And
Start
then
the day.
Kyle Van Noy comes in and says he and Marissa feed their kid. They don't do cereal at their house. Their kids eat vegetable smoothies for breakfast.
Wow.
I was like,
Impressive.
wow.
Clearly against their will because they don't know a difference.
And don't think we respect that because we don't. Because
We
we
just
think that those
acknowledged
kids
it.
should get Trix or Frosted
We
Flakes or
acknowledged
something.
it and moved on.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we
So-
did. All right.
Okay, your favorite ice cream?
You mean which kind?
Which flavor and kind? Like we can pub it.
Okay. I like all ice cream.
Okay, that's a big category.
From the creamery, I like BYU or Graham Canyon.
Graham Canyon. Okay, I got to try that one.
Okay. And then generally kind of any, chocolate chip, Oreo, all
Okay.
that kind of stuff. So
Oreo, yeah. I'm trying to think.
So you're a connoisseur.
Ben
of
and
ice
Jerry's
cream.
makes one that I just
like
got
all
that,
ice
that we just stick in the fridge, and I have 1 tablespoon a night because I can't eat any more than that. But
That Ben and Jerry stuff's involved.
It's called the Tonight Dough instead of the Tonight Show.
Oh, wow.
And it's got all kinds of good stuff in it. So.
You know what I like? I like that Haagen-Dazs Dulce de Leche.
Oh yeah,
the
he likes
caramel
the
and-
Dulce.
Oh, that
Dulce.
stuff's good.
very good.
I told the story a few weeks ago, but BYU football recruit was on campus, a little behind the scenes, and you guys do the same thing. Is there anything that you absolutely want to do while you're on campus? Because we have this agenda, but what do you want to do, right? So they ask him, and his parents look at each other in the family. They go, "Can we go to the BYU Creamery?" and I'm like, the kid's signed, right?
Is that the closer? Is that where you're
At
taking
that
him to the
point, the
creamery?
kid's like, he's got to sign, right? So.
You go to the creamery. You're not walking out of there
That's
having
the
not
one,
signed
you
it.
guys. It's the one thing they wanted of everything they could possibly see on campus. They wanted to make a stop at the BYU Creamery. I'm like, if that kid doesn't sign, right? I think you got
That's
that, guys. So-
fantastic.
okay, last one, and it is the same, but your favorite advice ever from your wife, Megan.
I think that my favorite advice that she's given me, and it's very similar to Jamal's, was be kind, right? But it's also, be present.
That's a great one.
So
Be present, meaning
meaning you need
like,
to be
don't
here.
when you're here, be here. Don't be. I'll be right with you in a minute. I want to get off my phone. Right, be there. Be in the moment. I love that.
that's easy to not be. It's easy to not be present. It's easy to be in the room, but it's
Well,
easy
and
to not
it
be
doesn't
there.
even have to be a cell phone. Like you can be in a room and your thoughts be elsewhere. And I think it's hard in this world with so much stuff coming at us to be present. I think be present is such an important thing, that we're with who we're with and we're there with them, for them when we're there. I love that. That's a
We're
good
glad
one.
that you're present here tonight.
That's
Thanks for
great to
coming
be
with
here.
us tonight.
Thank you
We
so
loved
much.
having you.
Like
Nick.
you have
It's great.
said, I got a quote from you. Basketball has taken me all over the world. I've been fortunate to have that round ball in my life. It's going to take you to Europe next week. It's going to bring you back to the Big 12 when you return. I don't know if you're going to be the tour guide with all your experience in Europe. Maybe you are for the team. But that round ball has taken you everywhere. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing. When I was really young, my dad, who came from a town of 500 people, he was the first to graduate as the youngest of a lot of siblings from high school, and then the first to graduate from college. And when I was young, he gave me a basketball. It was one, I have it, but one he had broken a backboard with, right?
Oh,
Which is
wow.
kind of cool.
Nice.
So, but he said, Nick, this basketball can take you anywhere you want it to, right? And so, I've been very fortunate right, to been able to play at a very high level, and it's taken me a lot of different places, and to now be able to coach, with that round basketball, in a different way, and been very, very fortunate. So again, I'm extremely humbled by the game itself. Got a lot of respect for the game and feel very grateful to be here at BYU, right, with Coach Pope, moving into the Big 12, with the rest of the staff, Coach Fear, Coach Fennell, Keegan Brown.
Michael Davey,
Yeah.
new kid in town.
New kid in town.
Michael Davey goes by Wiz.
He goes by Wiz?
Yeah,
I like that.
Because when I think
those
of
that are-
Michael,
for
I
those
think
that
of
are
Wiz. How's that even?
So Michael is named the new director of strength and conditioning and sports science at BYU.
Yeah.
So he's going to join the staff and work with athletes.
From the
He comes
Milwaukee
Milwaukee
Bucks.
Bucks.
Yeah.
So worked with Elijah.
Yeah.
Eli talked about him. So that's really cool. So we welcome him in. But what a tremendous staff, and that'd be fun to go to work every day with that group.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, we look forward to riding through the season with you in
Let's
the Big
go.
12. What a historic time coming for men's basketball. Thank you so much for
Thanks
being
so much
here.
for coming
Thanks,
on,
guys.
Nick. We
Really appreciate it.
So
Nick Robinson. And by the way, you can learn more about the Robinsons in the Deep Blue.
That's
pretty
right.
good.
Yeah.
At BYUTV.org. Just type in Robinsons and it'll come up. Thank you, Coach. We'll see you Friday.
Thanks, guys.
What a great visit to have with. And what a story. And I didn't even get to ask him what it was like to be number one in the country.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
As he was a player at Stanford when they were number one.